So, my original plan was to review the original trilogy of Star Wars and then get back to the Sharknado movies. However, I really don't want to go back to the Sharknado movies. The thing about the Sharknado movies is that they can be enjoyable to watch, but they're just not review movies. They're just not. When I reviewed them, it just felt weird reviewing them. Like they're not movies that are made to be reviewed and aren't made to have a video be made on them. However, this doesn't mean that I'm stopping with Sharknado. I'm gonna review all the Star Wars movies, and then I'll finally finish off Sharknado with the last three, the fourth, fifth, and sixth one. But in this video, I'm gonna be reviewing not one, not two, but 3 Star Wars movies. And they are the prequel trilogy. Now, I believe that the prequel trilogy, well, obviously, the prequel trilogy is the worst part about Star Wars. Like, out of everything Star Wars, the prequel trilogy has got to be the worst. And that's including Star Wars Rebels. Now, there's a lot of people who don't like the newer Star Wars movies, and I can understand if the newer Star Wars movies aren't your cup of tea. If you're just not into them, I can understand that. However, if you say that the newer movies are worse than the prequels, I mean, yeah, if you're an idiot. A lot of people just hate on the newer Star Wars movies, and it, for some reason, to them, makes the prequels look better. But the prequels aren't. The prequels are very, very bad movies. They just are. Alright, whatever. Let's not continue talking about this. Let's just review the movies now. Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace from 1999. Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones from 2002. And Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith from 2005.
Right. The Senate
It's
will
too late
never.
now.
Do you think she suspects an attack?
Có chữ thề con cặc vô mày nói chuyện vô dân quá. Mày coi chừng mày chết với tao nha mày.
Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. I don't think it's the worst Star Wars movie of all. I think it's the second worst. These movies do have a lot in common, though. The action in this is surprisingly good, which is like probably the only good part about these movies. They all have a crazy overuse of CGI. So, first off, all the villains in this movie are pretty lame. Darth Maul might look cool, and he does have a double-bladed lightsaber, but he's just a really underdeveloped, underused character. He definitely gets better in Star Wars The Clone Wars, however, and any other future piece of Star Wars that has him in it. Also, the Separatists' plan to take over things and crap, it's really not that clear. It seems kind of weird and confusing. Also, what else is confusing is the way Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi escape the Federation ship and go to Naboo. They both get in separate ships, and those separate ships just by chance land right next to each other. Why didn't they just go in the same ship? What? Now, I know people are going to say, Jar Jar Binks is the worst character in Star Wars. However, I don't think he is. I don't think Jar Jar Binks is the worst character. I think he's actually kind of far from that. I don't think he's even the worst thing in this movie. I'm not joking. I'm being serious. Jar Jar Binks, well, even though Jar Jar Binks is super frustrating, he probably can make really young children laugh. Or grown-ups with the attention spans of little children laugh. So everyone in this movie is so dull and dumb. Everyone just acts like a robot. There's like almost no emotion in this entire movie. All the characters in this movie are really not that good. I think the only character in this entire movie who put on a performance that I kind of enjoyed was Palpatine. I think he was the only character who put on a performance that I slightly liked, and he was barely in the movie. So the actors and the people who helped George Lucas write the scripts for the original trilogy are gone. So the script for these movies sucks. It is so bad. People talk so weirdly in this movie, and sometimes a scene happens when you have no idea what's going on, and they really just don't explain it, and it doesn't make any sense. I find it kind of confusing how the Jedi Council is all like, no, this boy is powerful, and I sense fear in him, so we're not going to train him. But then they let Qui-Gon Jinn train him, but Qui-Gon Jinn doesn't end up being able to train him because he dies, and so Obi-Wan Kenobi trains him, even though the Jedi Council didn't want that. Also, the pacing of this movie is really bad. It's not the worst in the Star Wars universe, but it is really bad. This movie feels like a lot longer than it actually is. Another thing that bothers me is that Anakin Skywalker, as a child with no flying experience, was able to blow up the mothership, go inside the mothership, blow it up, and achieve something that loads of experienced pilots couldn't do. Now you might be saying, oh, because Anakin Skywalker, he's the chosen one, he's strong with the Force, but I don't care. This random child who has only won one pod race shouldn't be able to blow up a mothership of the Separatists. What the Alright, time to close off this by giving Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace from 1999, a 2 out of 10.
Fought well you have, my old Padawan.
This is just the beginning.
Alright, it's around 10:30 on a Wednesday, and I really just wanted to do this recording already. Let's get this over with. Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones from 2002. A lot of twos. Let's talk about it already. No one has ever asked me this question, but if they ever ask me, what do you hate more? What do you think is worse? Attack of the Clones or The Phantom Menace? And honestly, I don't like comparing turds to other turds. But I would say I hate the Attack of the Clones more. I hate Attack of the Clones more. Now, I'm going to start off with one of the biggest reasons why I think this movie is much worse than the first one, and that's because of Anakin. In the last movie, Anakin was just an annoying kid, but he was just a kid. And, I mean, he did win that pod race, and he somehow blew up that mothership somehow, even though he had no pilot experience. And now in this movie, he seems to argue with Obi-Wan a lot, even though they talk about good things that they have done together. He's done some random reckless things, and he cries and whines in this movie so much, and I just cannot take it when he does that. And the thing about The Phantom Menace, it had way too much CGI for its time, but Attack of the Clones is when it gets insane. There is such a crazy amount of overuse of CGI in this scene. I mean, not in this scene, but in this movie. Did I accidentally say scene? Oh. Anyway, there's this one scene. That's why I said scene. But anyway, there's this one scene when Jango Fett dodges this rhino-looking thing, and he shoots at it, and moves out of the way. And then, instead of just having a man in a costume roll out of the way, or jump out of the way, maybe attach some, like, string to his back to make it seem like he jumped higher, they instead have him be a CGI thing, and it's so weird to see. That's not the only thing that's incredibly overused with CGI. The clone troopers are entirely CGI. Instead of taking normal people and just putting them in a suit, in a costume, they decide to digitally make the clone troopers. Why? And I know a lot of people, when they see that one scene of Yoda fighting Count Dooku, and they're all like, whoa, that's so cool, Yoda's jumping around, and stuff like that. But the thing about Yoda is he's so connected to the Force, he pulls out a lightsaber just like it's a normal thing. Yoda is a character that I never want to see hold a weapon. His greatest weapon is the Force, not a lightsaber, definitely not a blaster, not his pokey ears or whatever, not his memes. Actually, maybe, I don't know. But no, it's the Force. The Force is his most powerful weapon, and he should never be seen use a lightsaber. Now, I can understand if, like, maybe in Revenge of the Sith, there would be this one scene when Yoda pulls out a lightsaber that he did use as a Padawan, and he just really didn't want to use it, but he was all like, well, the Jedi are, like, almost extinct, pretty much, and everything's going to crap, so I guess I should use it to fight against Darth Sidious. That would be fine, but seeing Yoda just whip out a lightsaber like it's nothing, I don't like that. And also, another thing that Yoda does is he tells the different commanders and whatever, different clone troopers, where to aim, and he's on a gunship right next to the troopers. Yoda shouldn't even be there. I should never have to hear words like, focus all your firepower on the nearest starship, coming out of someone's mouth like Yoda's. That kind of did make any sense, what I just said, but whatever. Also, almost everything that Obi-Wan Kenobi does in this movie is just so dumb or boring. The whole plot of him finding the bounty hunter that's supposed to assassinate Padme is so boring. It only gets a tiny bit interesting when he actually fights Jango, because most of it is so dumb and boring. And also, there's a scene when Obi-Wan just literally jumps out of a window to grab onto a droid with no plan, and like a minute later he sees Anakin doing something similar, except for he's not really jumping to grab something, he's just jumping. And Obi-Wan is all like, I hate it when he does that. Even though, like, a few minutes before that, actually not even a few minutes, probably like a minute and a half before that, Obi-Wan jumped out of the window. So I don't know what's this whole thing. Also, the characters, well, not really the characters, well, actually, yeah, the characters in this movie are super boring. loads of them are super boring, and the actors are not doing a good job. They're doing such a bad job. It's actually kind of uncomfortable and irritating how bad they're doing. Especially Padme. She does, like, almost nothing. And also stays with Anakin after hearing him talk about how he murdered an entire village. Why would she do this? Is she also crazy like him or something? The only character in this movie that actually did fine is Count Dooku. Yeah, you heard me right. Count Dooku. Everyone else just super annoying, super boring, super dumb. And as an example of annoying, dumb, and boring, baby Boba Fett, young Boba Fett in this movie. Boba Fett, well, the bounty hunter version of him, he is so awesome. He is definitely my second favorite Star Wars character behind Darth Vader. And it's just a real shame seeing the young version of him as like this bratty, he looks like he's 11 or something, 12, I don't know. This bratty kid who's, sees his father's helmet on the floor and puts his forehead on it, because, I don't know, maybe he's gonna go bald. Ooh, that felt good. Now, this movie does have its moments, and when I say moments, I mean the only parts that I liked about it was the Battle of Geonosis. I think that was kind of cool. A bunch of different Jedis going up against loads of battle droids, and then the clone troopers coming in, and then Yoda commanding the clone troopers for some reason. I also really like the soundtrack for this movie. John Williams does a great job. The score for this movie is great, just like every Star Wars movie. Every Star Wars movie has a great score, and that's the only thing that all of these movies, that's the only common thing in all these movies, because lots of the characters act different in the different movies. The writing is different in different movies, the CGI, the everything except for the music. The music is great in all Star Wars movies, and if you don't think that, then you're just an idiot. This is also when you see just how wonky and messy Darth Sidious's plan is. Because in these movies we're told that he can predict the future, and he came up with a plan for the future and blah blah blah. But the thing is, Palpatine, he needs Padme. He needs Anakin to love Padme to turn him over to the dark side. So why does he try to kill... Why is he fine with Count Dooku using weird monsters to kill both Padme and Anakin? What? Is it because, he'll just know that Anakin and Padme will get out of there? Why even have it at all if you just know that? Like, Darth Sidious can legit be all like to Count Dooku, hey, no, don't kill them, I need them for something. However, you can kill Obi-Wan, but I need Anakin and Padme. It's this whole thing. Don't worry about it. I need them. I can tell the future. I know what's going on. So it's just kind of wonky and weird and messy of a plan. And you'll start seeing it getting even messier in Revenge of the Sith. I have no idea how no one is able to tell that Chancellor Palpatine is the Sith Lord Emperor Palpatine, and they have an excuse. Yoda says that the dark side clouds everything. It clouds everything. This movie just makes me go crazy, and because of that, I have to give Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones from 2002, so many twos, a 2 out of 10. And you might be thinking, that's the same score that you gave the Phantom Menace. Does that mean they're equally as bad? No. You can't just, like, give something a completely different score just because it's just slightly worse than another thing. It's kind of like a tier list. See, I would put Thor Ragnarok and Spider-Man Homecoming on S tier for an MCU tier list. But I think Spider-Man Homecoming is a better Marvel movie than Thor Ragnarok. You see, it's almost like if I put these two movies, The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, on an F tier list, but I thought Attack of the Clones is a worse movie. Okay, whatever. Let's get to Revenge of the Sith now.
Master Windu. I take it General Grievous has been destroyed then. I must say you're here sooner than expected.
In the name of the Galactic Senate of the Republic, you're under arrest, Chancellor.
Are you threatening me, Master Jedi?
The Senate will decide your fate.
I am the Senate.
I'm gonna be the next Hokage.
That's some good lemonade. Okay, straight off the bat, Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith from 2005, a few months before my birthday. It's not as bad as the first two. Well, I mean, the first one isn't as bad as the second one, but they're very similar. However, Revenge of the Sith is a little bit different because it's not as terrible as the first two. It still has the same problems that the first two have. It's too long, has an overuse of CGI, the characters suck. However, the fight scenes in this movie are not really that good, especially when Mace Windu and Emperor Palpatine fight each other. That fight scene is just so weird and boring, and it feels slow and everything, just like this movie. I felt like this movie is only better than the first two because, one, it sets up the Empire, it sets up Darth Vader, it sets up Luke and Leia, it sets up the original trilogy. And the second reason why it's just not as stupid and weird as the other ones. Anakin's just a teensy bit wiser in this movie, but he is still a whiny, evil weirdo, like he is, well, in the one before this movie, because, of course, he was just a kid in the first one. Anyway, there are scenes in this movie that have pretty good placing in them. Like, for example, the scene of Emperor Palpatine talking about what's going on and how the Jedi are going to be hunted down and defeated and the Empire is rising. And while that scene is going on, at the same time, it's also showing Anakin killing off other, like, members of the Separatists. And that combined with the music, of course the music is great in this movie, like all Star Wars movies, but that scene, those two scenes combined with the music, it makes it feel pretty, it's kind of nice. And also, I like how it has the fight between Yoda and Palpatine at the exact same time as the fight between Anakin and Obi-Wan is happening. But speaking of that fight, Anakin and Obi-Wan, they fight for just way too long. That fight is just way too long. It definitely could be shortened. There definitely could have been some things taken out of it. However, there are some parts of the fight that I like that one part when Anakin and Obi-Wan are trying to force push each other away, and they end up force pushing both of themselves away. Also, that one really cool shot that shows like lava exploding behind them. Yeah, that's a pretty cool shot. Yeah. Kind of like the conversation that Obi-Wan and Anakin have before they fight. Well, not really conversation, more of an argument, but I kind of like it. However, I would like it a lot more if Anakin wasn't such a whiny, evil weirdo like he is. There are some pretty nice shots in this movie, but there are also some pretty terrible ones as well. I know that this recording isn't as long or as in-depth as the other two, but I don't really have that much to say about this movie. I don't really. It's still a bad movie. There are some parts of it that I kind of like. It's definitely not as bad as the first two, but it's definitely way worse than the newer movies, the newer Star Wars movies. So I'm going to close off this trilogy and this movie by giving Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith from 2005 3.5 out of 10. First half score, let's go, baby. Finally done with the prequels. Hello? Uh-huh. Did you say The Force Awakens? Rogue One? The Last Jedi? Solo? Oh, Rise of Skywalker. The newer Star Wars movies? Okay. Love you, Mom. Guys, I'm back at the good Star Wars movies.